switch the keys.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you very much, Nima, for inviting me. I'm super excited about being here. I think open tools are very necessary, and so I hope I can contribute a little bit to this meeting. So I'm interested in the hippocampus, and in the levels that Mackenzie said, I would be more in the circuit level. How does microcircuits compute? The hippocampus is this pink structure here that you can see. It's very well known because it's key for memory, for navigation, for representation. And actually, I started the postdoc one week ago, so I cannot tell anything about my project yet. But I'm very excited about it. I will be working with a machine of knowledge, of electrophysiological knowledge, which is Peter Jonas, and also Tim Vogel's, which is a machine knowledge of machine learning and models. I will say hi. So in this talk, I will talk about the work that I did during my PhD in Lisette Menendez de la Prida's lab. So this, as I said, we were very interested in knowing how mechanisms of hippocampus give rise to all the operations that it does. And here you can see some of the toolboxes that we have developed. All these 6 repositories are related to the event, the electrophysiological event that is related to the memory consolidation, which will be the main topic of this talk. But just to give a little overview, we have also done, for example, simulation, models to simulate neural behavior in a multi-compartmental model to understand input integration in pyramidal cells. We have also developed a tool to cluster LFP waveforms based on their similarity. So, for example, in a previous work, we saw that the firing of a single cell was correlated with this clustering, so cells tended to fire during events that were most similar. And a bit unrelated, but also very cool, this is the last paper that has come out. It's in the intersection between neuroscience and cancer. So what we had several animals with different metastases, lung, breast, and melanoma. And we trained an algorithm to be able to differentiate which type of cancer did the animal have based on the LFP, just on the LFP recordings. Well, here you have the summary. But as I said, I will focus in one of these tools. In particular, I will tell the story of how we get to that, because I think it can be interesting for this meeting. So it all started with a question. So how do we want to do open science? Being my supervisor, Lisette, and me knew that developing tools have some problems, and most of all, if you are a single person trying to do these tools. So, for example, I'm going to be biased by my background, by my knowledge, or even by the publishing papers that are out. I don't have much. I have the time of the time that one person has. And once I've developed my tool, how can I make it reach to the most people possible? So trying to find solutions to these problems, we thought, okay, how about a hackathon? We could make a hackathon, involve many people, and all these problems would go away. We would have more mindsets, thinking, less bias, more human power, and we could reach more people. So this is what we did. We did the Brain Code Games hackathon. And the idea was because we wanted to reach the most heterogeneous people possible, we prepared them 1 month earlier, giving neuroscience courses, Python, and machine learning courses. Then during the hackathon, they have to group in teams and developed a solution. And then we evaluated the solutions, give prizes to the best teams, and keep going with the analysis. So it was very successful. We had more than 100 participants, and they were from undergraduate students to PhD students. We also had people from industry, so not only people in academia, also many people that were not interested in, like, they were from industry, not interested in academia, and having all types of backgrounds, so more neuroscience, less neuroscience, more programming, computing, less. And the problem that they had to solve, that they all have to solve, was sharp wave ripple detection. Let me tell you why this is a thing, and why it's not solved yet. So when during exploration, even like rats or you, when you came to this room, you have displaced cells that are coded in the space, and they fire in sequences. These sequences are orchestrated, coordinated by this theta rhythm, which is a low frequency rhythm. And then when you, these memories, in order to be consolidated, they have to be replayed, and this happens during sharp wave ripples. So the same sequential activity of ensembles of neurons that we had seen during the coding, they are repeated in a compressed way during these ripples. The LFP have a very characteristic form, which is a high-frequency oscillation, and this is why it's called sharp wave ripple, because they have like this ripple waveform and this sharp wave, sharp wave deflection. And this could be like the LFP of a high-density probe in the CA1 hippocampus of a mice, and they are tremendously variable. The variability is somehow reflecting the ensembles of neurons that are being activated. So the variability is indeed interesting. And we have, for example, here there are ripples with their sharp waves, ripples with no sharp waves with no ripples, so you have like everything here. The classical way to detect ripples is to filter the signal, do an envelope, and then put a threshold, and there you have it. The main problems, though, is that this way, we're using spectral methods, you cannot disambiguate the variability of the ripples, and that they are very biased toward high amplitude ripples. So there are some events that are not detected, and this can be a problem because sharp wave ripples are our main way to study memory consolidation. So in a work previous to the hackathon, we already tried to solve this problem using supervised machine learning. The idea would be to train an algorithm, inputting raw LFP and manually labeled data. So an expert went through all the sessions and said, okay, there's a ripple from here to here, from here to here, from here to here. And you train the algorithm with this data, and the output would be the probability of the inputted window having a sharp wave ripple. Here you could see like the output. What we did, we used convolutional neural networks that are, basically they have many kernels inside, and each kernel learned to identify a particular feature of the LFP. Actually, in this work, we did something similar to what Andrea presented, the most exciting image, and something like that. And what we saw, it was very fun because we saw that some of the kernels, their MEI was the ripple and the sharp wave, so it made sense. And so here, this is, as I said, this is the result. And then we wanted to evaluate how did it work. So for that, we need to put a threshold. Everything that is over the threshold will be a detection. And of course, depending on the threshold, there will be some detections, like one set of detections or another. So we computed the performance based on the threshold. And if you pick the best threshold, because you magically know what it is and you pick it, then the CNN is a bit better than the filter, but this will not happen in real life. In real life, you don't know what's the best threshold because you haven't manually tagged all the data. So the most important thing of this result was that the machine learning solution was less dependent on the threshold. So the performance was higher for many more thresholds than the filter. And also related to the threshold, what we saw is that the filter was biasing the characteristics of the events that we were detecting. So here you can see the frequency of the detected events depending on the threshold. And the filter biased the frequency and the power depending on the threshold, while the CNN didn't. But the main problem with machine learning solutions is that they many times don't generalize. So in order to test generalization, what we did was to, like without retraining, just taking these same two algorithms, we applied detection to across all the neuropixels probe, so going from dorsal to ventral. The data, like the algorithm, the CNN had been trained with dorsal data, so now we were going to see how it behaved in ventral too. Sorry, it was trained in dorsal. And surprisingly, we saw, I didn't expect that at all. I thought the filter was going to do fine. But what we saw is that the CNN in the pyramidal layer of both dorsal and ventral, it behaved like the performance was almost the same, but the filter wasn't. Like in ventral, it didn't generalize. So this was very, like, I don't know, very good to support the machine learning solution. But then the natural question arose, how do other machine learning solutions behave? Like what happens with other machine learning architectures? And this is where the hackathon came. So these are the solutions of the most successful solutions of participants, and as you can see, there are many different, very different. I will not go into the details of how each of these compute, but well, this is extreme gradient boosting, support vector machine, long short-term memory, which is a type of recurrent neural network, bidimensional convolutional neural network, and unidimensional convolutional neural network. That was the one that I have shown you. They process data very differently, and here you can see some examples. So here you can see like the output of each of these 5 architectures. And again, depending on the threshold, different subsets of sharp wave ripples are going to be detected. And again, the same graphics as before, performance versus threshold, showed that actually there were more machine learning solutions that performed relatively well. The best ones was the unidimensional CNN and the recurrent network, like the LSTM. But also strength gradient boosting, which was surprising. But there wasn't like very big differences between them. If we repeated the analysis of the characteristics of the event based on the threshold, like we saw that this also surprised us, that the LSTM varied a lot, like biased a lot the events of the characteristics of the events. And I think from this, like in the paper, we have many more analysis, and I think it's a very good review of what different machine learning solutions like offer, because I don't think there's like the best solution. This is just like a review of how they behave in different contexts. And well, everything that I have shown you is in mice data. And again, we wanted to test generalization, and we thought, okay, sharp wave ripples are not unique to rodents. They are also in humans. Actually, in humans, they have also proven to be related to memory consolidation. So can we test generalization going to other species? And this is, well, we had some collaborators that gave us monkey data. And again, we labeled data, we labeled all the ripples of these sessions, and we computed the performance of our detectors without retraining, so using the detectors that had been trained using mice data in monkey data. And the performance was surprisingly good, well, not for the bidimensional CNN, but the rest of them were actually pretty okay. But we thought then, but why wouldn't we want to retrain? Like we could also, like this, we had, or like we have the toolkit is already in our GitHub, but we thought, why don't we want to have also a retraining tool? So if you are interested in other species, you can use it, or even if you are interested in detecting other events, because for example, I don't know if you have experienced this, but sometimes when you are looking at the LFP, you see things that are there constantly and haven't been described. So it would be cool to tag them, like maybe 100 or so, and then you have a tool that will let you detect in many sessions these events and understand the biology behind them. And so we did this. We did a retraining tool, which is already also in the GitHub, and well, of course, performances went up, So the bottom line of this is that everything is open. We did Jupyter notebooks, so everybody can run this with their own data. The problem that I was telling you about shareware ripples, what we showed is that machine learning shows to have less dependency with the threshold. They are more robust. They don't, like some of them, some other no, but they don't bias the properties of the events that are being detected, and that they succeed in generalization both in other brain areas and other species. But what I thought it was the most interesting of what I told you is the hackathon solution as a multi-purpose strategy, because actually there were many undergraduate students, and they were all, and people from industry, they were all super excited to be here, like to be involved in the hackathon. It was a way to open science to non-academic people, so also like a teaching, like a way of teach neuroscience to people of outside the field. For us, I think the best part was that it brought a lot of unbiased mindset, like we could discuss, it's a broader exploration of the tools, and all that was done in the hackathon is given back to the scientific community. So we really enjoyed the experience. And well, I want to finish thanking my lab and Vicente Menendez de la Prida, which was like my partner doing all this, and you for your attention.
We have time for 2 questions.
One really brief question. Why would you use a 2D convolutional neural network when your data is 1D? Were you trying to do a spatial temporal pattern recognition, or where does the second dimension come?
Well, the way they work inside, it's slightly different. So you didn't, because in the 2-dimensional CNN, you have, so each channel has some there's interaction between the different, like the spatial information, and both the temporal and the spatial information, while the 1D hasn't. So it could be beneficial because there is a spatial relationship between the channels on an LFP. So actually, I didn't know what was going to be better because there's a spatial relationship between the channels. So we had to try to see what was better.
For me, those ripples are not obvious. Was there inter-rater agreement check? Like, what is the ripple?
Yeah, this is super. I mean, you got a point there. Which actually there's a 70% of agreement between experts. That's what we.
So classifiers did as well, right?
Yes, classifiers were in the expert agreement. And yesterday, when we were talking about, like, for example, or even in the spike, like the talk before, I would want to see what's the agreement between experts for example, spike sorting, because I don't, like, it's electrophysiological data is not so easy to understand even for human eyes. No? So, yeah.